The rain lashed against the windshield, a relentless drumbeat against the hum of the engine. Sarah gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white, her eyes scanning the dark, unfamiliar highway. It had been a long, grueling drive, an unexpected detour forcing her into the heart of a storm-battered night. Just as exhaustion threatened to swallow her whole, a flickering neon sign pierced the gloom: Maplewood Inn, a beacon of hope, however dim. With a sigh of relief that was almost a gasp, Sarah pulled into the dimly lit parking lot. The inn looked like a relic from another era, a sprawling, slightly worn building with a quiet, almost watchful air. Stepping inside, the air was cool and still, a sharp contrast to the wild night outside. The lobby was hushed, lit by soft amber lamps, and smelled faintly of old wood and something vaguely floral. Behind the polished oak counter stood a man, his face an unreadable mask of polite weariness, his silver hair neatly combed. "Welcome to the Maplewood Inn," he murmured, his voice a low, steady rumble. "Looking for a room, I presume?" Sarah nodded, rubbing her temples. "Please, anything you have available, just for the night." He consulted an old-fashioned ledger, his finger tracing lines down the page. "Ah, yes, we have room 303. It just became available." He paused, looking up, his gaze meeting hers with an intensity that made her instinctively straighten. "A few things you should know, though, about 303. It's on the 3rd floor, at the end of the hall. And most importantly," he leaned forward slightly, his voice dropping to a near whisper, "do not, under any circumstances, answer the phone after midnight." Sarah blinked, a small, nervous laugh escaping her lips. "Don't answer the phone? Is there a problem with the lines?" She tried to sound light, but a prickle of unease had begun to crawl up her spine. The clerk merely offered a faint, almost imperceptible smile. "Let's just say it's an old building with an old secret. Consider it a courtesy warning." He pushed a heavy brass key across the counter. "Enjoy your stay, miss." "Sarah, thank you." She took the key, its cold weight feeling surprisingly heavy in her palm. The exchange had been unsettling, a strange coda to an already draining day. Don't answer the phone after midnight. It was an odd, almost superstitious instruction, one she intended to promptly dismiss as the quirky habit of an old innkeeper. Room 303 was exactly as she'd imagined. Clean, functional, but dated. The floral wallpaper was faded, the dresser chipped in places, and the large antique bed dominated the room. The window overlooked a dense thicket of trees, now shrouded in the rain. She kicked off her shoes, dropped her bag, and immediately felt the exhaustion in her bones. The storm outside seemed to intensify, the wind howling like a mournful spirit. She glanced at the small rotary phone on the bedside table. It looked ancient, almost like a prop from an old movie. For a moment, she considered unplugging it, just to be sure, but dismissed the thought. Ridiculous, she chastised herself. It's just an old phone in an old hotel. Time seemed to drag as she tried to unwind. She watched some static-filled news, then tried to read, but her eyes kept drifting to the digital clock on her phone. 11:45 p.m., 11:52 p.m. Each tick of the second hand seemed louder, more insistent. The rain continued its relentless drumming, punctuated by the occasional distant rumble of thunder. A strange apprehension began to tighten its grip around her chest, a feeling she couldn't shake. Then, at precisely 12:01 a.m., the phone rang. The sound was jarring in the silence of the room, a sudden, shrill intrusion that made her jump. Her heart pounded against her ribs. She stared at the receiver, frozen, remembering the clerk's words. Do not, under any circumstances, answer the phone after midnight. But curiosity, that most human of flaws, warred with her rising fear. Who would be calling at this hour? Was it just a prank, a wrong number, or something else. After what felt like an eternity, she slowly reached out, her hand trembling slightly, and lifted the receiver. "Hello?" Her voice was barely a whisper. On the other end, there was only a ragged, gasping breath, followed by a low, mournful sob. A woman's voice, choked with despair, whispered, "Please, don't let her out. Don't let her out." The words dissolved into a fresh wave of weeping, a sound so raw, so full of anguish, it sent shivers down Sarah's spine. "Who is this?" Sarah demanded, her voice suddenly stronger, tinged with a mix of fear and confusion. "What are you talking about?" But the sobs only intensified, morphing into a pleading wail that seemed to reverberate through the line, vibrating in her very bones. She's coming for me. Please, don't." The connection crackled, and then, with a final desperate moan, the line went dead. Sarah slammed the receiver back into its cradle, her hand still shaking. Her breath came in short, shallow gasps. What in the world had just happened? Was it a joke, a recording, a nightmare? She tried to rationalize it, but the chilling sincerity of the voice, the sheer terror in those sobs, made it impossible. She sat bolt up on the edge of the bed, listening, her senses on high alert. The only sounds were the persistent rain and the frantic thud of her own heart. She told herself it was over, that it was just a strange occurrence, a bizarre prank. Then came the sound, a soft, distinct knock. Not on the door, not on the wall, but from inside the room, from the large, old-fashioned wardrobe closet across the room. Sarah's blood ran cold. She stared at the closet door, her eyes wide, unblinking. It was a heavy, dark wood, closed securely. I hadn't even opened it since I arrived. The knock came again, a little louder this time, a gentle but unmistakable rap from within. Every fiber of her being screamed at her to run, to bolt out of the room, but some morbid fascination, or perhaps a desperate need to prove it was nothing, held her rooted. Slowly, agonizingly slowly, she pushed herself off the bed. Each step towards the closet felt like wading through thick mud. The silence in the room was deafening, broken only by the incessant rain. She reached the wardrobe, her hand hovering over the cold brass handle. Her fingers trembled as she wrapped them around it, taking a deep, shuddering breath. With a sudden surge of adrenaline, she yanked the doors open. It was empty, completely, utterly empty. Just the dusty wooden interior, a few discarded wire hangers, and the faint scent of old cedar. There was nothing, absolutely nothing inside. A wave of dizzying relief washed over her, so potent it almost made her knees buckle. She laughed, a short, breathless sound of pure hysteria. Of course, she thought, it was the wind, or the building settling, my imagination. I'm just tired. She let out a long, shaky breath and turned around to go back to the bed. And then she saw it. The bed, which moments ago had been empty, the covers neatly pulled back, was now full. The blanket was pulled up to the chin of an unseen occupant, a definite, heavy indentation beneath the covers. It was as if someone had just slipped into the bed, a dark, motionless shape where only a moment before there had been an empty mattress. Sarah froze, every muscle in her body locking up in terror. She couldn't breathe, she couldn't move. The shape under the covers remained perfectly still, radiating an icy, profound presence. And then the phone rang. It was a slow, deliberate ring, one tone, then a pause, then another. Sarah's eyes darted from the occupied bed to the sinister phone on the nightstand. She knew, with a certainty that chilled her to the bone, what it would say. Still, she didn't move. The ringing continued, echoing in the room, until finally, on the fifth ring, she heard the faint click of the line picking up, a sound not made by her hand. A voice, deeper this time, a low, guttural whisper, filled the room, seeming to emanate not from the receiver itself, but from the very air around her. Too late. That was all. Sarah didn't wait to hear another sound. She screamed, a raw, primal sound ripped from her throat, and stumbled backward, fumbling for the door. Her hand scrambled at the handle, desperate, until she finally wrenched it open and burst out into the dimly lit hallway, running, not stopping, until she was out of the inn, out into the pouring rain, and back into her car, leaving room 303 and its terrifying secrets behind her forever. It's a story that truly makes you pause, doesn't it? Sarah's experience in room 303 serves as a chilling reminder that some warnings, no matter how unusual, are best heeded. There are places and perhaps times when the veil between our world and something else becomes very